Sit right back, the time is now. Tammy's gonna show you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. Well, she makes it easy. She shows you tricks before too long and all real quick. And the all-star of the kitchen.
Today we're making a very special cake. Mark Fuller, a friend of mine from the Atlanta area, his mother, Magdalene Fuller, used to make a cake, this delicious coconut cake, and it's called Magdalene's Famous Coconut Cake. We just happened to be going to see the Gaither Band tonight in Jacksonville at Westside Baptist Church, and they used to eat this cake because Magdalene would make them one. And there's a note in here, and it says, "This coconut cake is a favorite by many." The Gaither Vocal Band would run to the arena door to grab one of these cakes baked for them by my mama. Bill Gaither told her once, "You should be put in jail for making something that good." So tonight, we're going to see the Gaithers. They're getting a bite of Magdalene Fuller's cake because we made a recipe. If you want to see more of Magdalene's recipes, I'm going to give you a link and the information for her son's cookbook because she loved to make cakes. She's got a lot of good cake recipes in here in case you're interested. So we're going to get started on Magdalene's famous coconut cake. We're starting out with Miss Magdalene's cake recipe, and she uses coconut milk as her liquid. Okay, so you're going to use vegetable shortening and butter, and you're going to cream that until it's nice and blended well. So you are going to mix this up until it's nice and creamy. Now I am doubling this recipe, and that's why I'm not going to tell you amounts. So if you want to know the amounts for a regular cake recipe, you can look on the website, and I should have a link in this post how to get to Magdalene's delicious coconut cake, okay? So you're going to mix the shortening and the butter up until it's nice and creamy, and then we're going to add the sugar. So now we're going to add the sugar, and this is when you're going to mix it until it's nice and fluffy. Then we're going to add the eggs. And remember, I have doubled this, so it's a lot. All right, before I add my eggs, I'm going to put in my extract. You're going to be using coconut extract and vanilla extract in your cake. And I'm doubling it. Gonna be good, y'all. All right, so we'll turn that up. Then we're gonna add our eggs one at a time, beating in between each one. Your typical cake directions. So you're gonna watch your mix and wait until that egg gets blended in there pretty good before you add the next one every time. Okay, once that step has finished, the last thing that you're gonna put in here is White Lily self-rising flour, and that way you don't have to add the baking soda and the salt. So if you don't have self-rising flour, then Google how much baking powder, salt you need to put in here. You shouldn't need soda because we're not using buttermilk. All right, so we're gonna be adding the flour and the milk alternately. I'll probably go ahead and put in 2 cups because like I said, this is a larger recipe. This on here. And we'll go ahead and start adding our coconut milk as well. finish mixing. You don't need to mix it but a couple of minutes after you start adding your flour. And then we're going to pour it in to our pans. Get it in the oven. Looks very good. So we'll see you in a minute. We're going to get our pans out and get them sprayed with some baking spray and get this in the oven. All right, Miss Magdalene would make 3 10-inch layers, and so she made a really big cake. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bake them separate because I've only got one 10-inch pan, all right? So that's what I'm doing. She made a 3-layer cake. The reason I doubled the recipe is me and Chris are gonna have a little 6-inch cake so that we can taste the cake for you guys. Because I have a feeling this is actually, and it's hard to say this, but I think it's going to be better than my mom's coconut cake. For one, because the cake layers have that coconut milk in them and the coconut extract, and I just think it's going to make it taste really good. And I really have 2 recipes here. Let me put a cup in here in each of these. So let's see about how thick that is in this 10-inch layer. I may have to add a little more. Remember, it'll double in size. So whatever you put in here, it's going to be about double once it's cooked. We're really close to it. And this has got plenty in it for hours. All right, so we're going to slide these into the oven at 325, and we're going to bake them till they're really light in color and the sides start coming away from the edge and a toothpick comes out clean. Okay, I think I'm going to make sure there's no air bubbles in here since I'm making this special for somebody. Let's get it in the oven, y'all. So you're going to get bird's eye coconut for this filling and let it thaw. Do not put it in the microwave to make it thaw because it can sour really easy. So I'm going to open all my coconut and put it all into here. This is fresh coconut. When I was growing up and when Mark was growing up and his mother made this cake, Mark Fuller, our parents used real coconuts. And what a pain that used to be. And now you can buy this fresh coconut, frozen. It's already grated, and all the black peeling is off of it. And boys, save you a lot of time. So it makes making a fresh coconut cake so much easier than it used to be back when our parents were growing up. All right, for one recipe, you would use a can of cream of coconut and 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. But because I'm doubling this, so you're going to combine your coconut milk with your cornstarch. And we're going to whisk this together. Get that cornstarch in there good. Now she just tells you to combine everything, but if you'll take your cornstarch and whisk it in your milk, you don't have to worry about it getting lumpy at all. And it's a good thing to just go ahead and mix up that coconut milk anyway, because it's got a little bit of oil in it. That way it gets it blended really good. So we have melted over here the butter that we need. And now we're going to add our liquid to it. All right, I'm going to stir that butter in with that milk. And we're going to start adding the coconut. So it's almost like making Mounds candy. Or what do you call those things? Not candy, but macaroons. Coconut macaroons. Because you're really making a candy out of this. Oh, I haven't added my sugar. I need to add the sugar, y'all. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start adding our sugar. And it's a lot of sugar because it's almost like a candy, y'all. You're going to cook this until it gets nice and thick. Almost like a macaroon. I like to use a good sugar when I'm making something like this because it is kind of like a candy. You want to use an extra fine sugar. So Dixie Crystals or Domino usually is extra fine. It's good to use for stuff like this. And remember, I'm doubling this, so it's making a lot of coconut filling. And some of my coconut is still frozen, so it's going to take it a minute to start getting warm in here and bubble up. I'm using a non-stick pan, and that way I don't have to worry so much about it scorching and burning. And that's really important. If you've got one, use it. I don't think Magdalene had one, but I have one, and so I use it, okay? Because it's smart to use it. Now we're going to finish off our coconut and get it in here. And we're just going to let this simmer. And then once it thaws everything out and starts to really simmer a little bit and boil, we're going to cook this until it gets nice and thick. And she says it's easier to ice the cake if your coconut filling is still a little bit warm. So remember that as well. We do want it to cool a little bit because you don't want it hot going on your cake, but you do want it warm. All right, so this is starting to get hot and bubble up, so we're going to cook it, and you're going to continue to cook this until it's thick like a filling. And if you see any little dark places in there from your coconut, like that little piece right there, just take a little spoon and get it out. All it is a little piece of the shell from the coconut, and they do a really good job of getting most of that out of there. It's about time to get our cake out. I'm going to see if it's done. So I'm going to use my cake tester. It's a little longer and you can reach in there easier than using a toothpick. That's clean. All right, you're going to get your cake out and let it sit about 10 or 15 minutes. Then you're going to flip it out on parchment paper and let it cool before you put your filling on there. And then you're just going to have to, if you're like me and you got one pan, you don't have to leave the oven on. Wait till you flip it out, wash it and grease it, and start all over. This is a super moist cake, and when I flipped these smaller ones out, I really had to give some force to it for it to get out of the pan, so I'm going to do this one the same way. All right, so there you have the layer. We're going to make some more. And you can eat the crust that sticks to the side of the pan if you want to. It's really good. Okay, so we are stacking these 3 layers. And you're just going to put your coconut in between each one. And your coconuts should still be kind of warm. But now I did chill the cake. Magdalene made 10-inch layers, and they're really big. So if you don't have a 10-inch layer, of course you can use a 9-inch layer or even an 8-inch layer, okay? So you make as many layers as you want to, and it should work fine. And this is our last layer. So that recipe should make 3 10-inch layers. I should have got this little part off of here. So that coconut cooks up good, and you can see that it's not real thick, but it's going, as it chills, it's going to get thicker. And icing the sides of this thing is not going to be easy. So I'm going to pick it up and ice it. So this is a 10-inch board I've got it on. So I'm going to actually, let me get me a spatula. So you just have to put it on there. Now, my friend Mark says he just pushes it over and spreads it. And I guess I could do that if I got my turntable in here. But when you do that, it's so sticky and messy that it's going to get all over the turntable and all over the table. And I just think it's easier to do it this way. So this is just the easiest way to do it. And as it cools, then you might could put another layer on there. So I suggest you do like I did and chill your layers in the freezer for a little while, so that when you go to put this warm icing on there, it helps cool it down a little quicker. And it's heavy, so if you can't pick it up and hold it like this, like I'm wearing out, I would suggest you do it in phases. Oh, that looks good, I know that. All right, that's all there is to it. Y'all are thinking, what? All there is to it. So if you're gonna make a cake for somebody, do like we did and double everything, so you can have a little bit too. I'll go ahead and tell you. You better know how to ice a cake if you're gonna make this one. Seems like Magdalene could do it, but you gotta be a pretty good baker to do this recipe, I do believe. This is the second layer of coconut going on. She used to make it for the Gaither band, and her son helped us get in to see them tonight, and I said, well, I'm gonna make your mama's cake for them. And he said that would be awfully nice. So it is so different than my mom's cake, and I know it's gonna be delicious. All right, we're gonna sit it right here, and there's their cake for tonight. Hopefully they can all have a piece because it's a big one. Okay. All right, I'm gonna give you a link to Mark's cookbook that has a lot of his mama's good old recipes. Now Mark played the piano. He's a wonderful piano player, and that's how he's in the ring with the Gaithers, and he played the piano for the Lefevres. Now that looks good, good, good. Boy, look at that pretty piece of cake, y'all. It looks moist, don't it? Let's get us a bite. I'm super excited to try this cake. That is some good stuff. Mark, I believe these people are right about your mama's cooking. She was an amazing cook. And what's so wonderful is we can get a recipe and keep the love going. We'll see you next time on Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. Bye, y'all. Love ya.
Cooking time, it's over now. Tammy, she just showed you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. So go on.